Hey everybody, it's Benny One, and I'm back at you with another movie review. And I watched Black Widow last night, right at midnight when I got off work. And damn it, people, it's about time. This movie has experienced delay after delay after delay because of the pandemic. We all know about that, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. So this is the first actual live-action blockbuster MCU movie since Avengers Endgame, because of the way the pandemic hit. And then they had the TV shows that they've been doing on Disney Plus, that they're currently on Loki now. So this is the first actual movie, and this is actually a before set movie. It takes place after Captain America Civil War, but we're getting it after the events of Avengers Endgame, where Black Widow died. So that kind of affects how I guess I feel about this movie, to tell you the truth. So, but we will dive into that, everybody. I will keep this spoiler free because it just came out, so I'm not going to really spoil anything in the movie. So yeah, this movie is directed by Cate Shortland, everyone, and I think she did a pretty good job directing the movie. The action sequences were done very well. I love the way that she used the camera with the shots, the angles. There's some cool scenes where they're on rooftops and they pan that camera back and don't cut from it and just let them go. Like, I love that kind of stuff. James Wan is amazing with that kind of shit, especially in Aquaman. So yes, so Scarlett Johansson is back, everybody, to play Natasha, Black Widow, everyone, and she's just what you expect of this character. She's just as good as she has been in any of the other movies that she's been in. It's cool to get to see her get her story flushed out more, because this movie is about her backstory that we've gotten bits and pieces of in the other Avengers movies, but they actually explore it in this movie, where they like show her and this Russian family that are spies in the beginning. And that's what I think the beginning of the movie like set a tone for what this movie was not, actually, because the beginning of this movie seemed like it was going to be very dark, very serious about this family of hers that are spies, like, and they're trying to escape from SHIELD in 1995 in Ohio because they're embedded, they're undercover, they're spies. And the tone of that opening part of this movie did not really continue through the movie. So that's the kind of thing that I feel like this movie kind of was struggling with, the type of tone that it wanted to go with, I guess. And I think this movie would have benefited more if they would have went down that darker route, like the Winter Soldier movie did, where that movie was very serious and very dark. I would say that movie is the closest thing that the MCU has gotten to The Dark Knight, as far as like a very grounded, gritty, realistic comic book movie. I thought that's what they were going to do with this movie, but they did not. So Florence Pugh, or whatever I think her last name is, she plays Yelena. She's Black Widow's sister. Rachel Weisz plays Melina. She is the mom to Black Widow and Yelena. And David Harbour, everybody, he plays Alexei, the Red Guardian. I loved his character. He was a lot of comedy relief in the movie, and that's what I mean. In the beginning act, it's very serious with him, but then the rest of the movie, it's very jokey with him. I loved his character, though, in the movie. I thought they did a great job with him. It was cool to see the Red Guardian and how he was jealous of Captain America. Just, he did a great job. Like, and then William Hurt, everybody, Thunderbolt Ross, is in this movie, everyone, because he's going after Natasha because she's on the run because of what happened with the Sokovia Accords and everything in Captain America Civil War. So we get a little bit of Thunderbolt Ross in this. So yeah, guys, this movie is about, it's telling the backstory and flushing the backstory of Natasha and how she became a part of the Black Widow program and all that stuff and how she got there, and it's kind of sad what happened to them. Like, it really is. It's really sad what happened to her and Yelena, how they were just basically taken, and freaking Alexei, yeah, it's crazy how this all went down when they were kids. So, and then they find out that a Russian like government type level person who they thought was dead is still alive, and that's basically what makes this family of the Black Widows reunite and basically try and take this guy down and everything. So that's the basic gist of the story, so I won't be diving into the story anymore because I don't want to spoil anything. So the movie's loaded with action, okay? It's got the MCU action, explosions, the CGI action, like that you come to expect from a Marvel movie. It does. It has all of that. If you love that stuff from the MCU movies, you will not be disappointed. That's in here. I do think some of the action sequences get a little crazy. And there's parts in the movie where you would think that, holy crap, like Natasha, Black Widow, she might die from doing this, but we know she doesn't. And that's where I feel like they really, I'm happy we got this movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy we got this movie, but I feel like it would have had more impact if this movie actually would have came out when it should have, back after Civil War. Like, if this movie would have came out after Civil War, before Infinity War, because that's where this movie fits in the timeline, and they tie it into that. They do a great job tying it into Infinity War and where she is in Infinity War and everything. Like with the blonde hair and all that. Like, they do a fantastic job tying it in so you can watch this movie in between those. But I feel like as a viewer, I feel like the movie would have had more impact on me if it would have came out when it should have. Not after Endgame and after she's died. Because you know she's dead. So you know nothing's going to happen to her in this movie. So like, when they're in these huge action sequences where she could possibly die, there's just nothing there to that, because it doesn't like impact me as a viewer, because I'm like, well, she's not going to die because she was alive after this. So that's why I think this movie would have benefited more if it would have actually came out in maybe 2016. But, you know, it's still cool that we got it. The special effects in the movie, for the most part, I thought pretty damn good. There were a few scenes, though, where I thought the CGI didn't look the best in the world. But I don't really care about that kind of stuff. I don't, it's kind of like video games. I don't play video games for the best graphics in the world possible. Like, I don't care about that kind of stuff. It doesn't make or break a movie for me if the CG's bad every once in a while in a scene. So, but the movie, I mean, it was a fun movie. I most definitely don't think it's one of the better MCU movies. I would say it's probably in the lower half. It was cool to see Natasha get her own standalone movie. It was the family dynamic between Black Widow, Yelena, Melina, and the Red Guardian was funny. Don't get me wrong. They, like that little dinner scene that they had together when they were all back, that was in the trailers, so I'm not ruining anything. It's funny, the banter that they have with each other, but like, I feel like there were parts in this movie that, like, when they're talking about Yelena and Natasha getting their like uterus and everything taken out by that Black Widow like thing that they were a part of, like involuntary, they just do that to them. They make it so they can't have kids and they don't have a choice. Like, there's a scene where they're talking about that with the Red Guardian, and it, instead of them going down that line and taking it down that serious route, they just started cracking jokes, and I'm just like, you guys ruined that moment. Like, you could have had a real serious moment in this movie. Like, there was quite a few times actually where they could have had some really deep drama, like scenes between these characters, but then they just crack a joke. But that's what the MCU does. They only take their movies so seriously, and then they gotta throw those jokes in there, and it kind of ruins some of the scenes in this movie. It really does. So, but overall, it was a fun movie. It had the MCU action in it. It had some characters that we've seen before. We got some new characters that were awesome to see on the big screen for the first time. So, I mean, it's a decent movie. So, I'm going to give Black Widow a 7 out of 10. It's a pretty decent watch. It's a decent MCU movie. Like I said, I think it's kind of in the lower half, though. It's not one of the worst ones, though, but it's also not one of the best. So, a 7 out of 10 for Black Widow, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Thanks for watching, and be catching you on the tube later because I have spoken.